Hi everyone, I'm so thrilled to be here with all of you for this virtual celebration of a very important milestone, the 100th anniversary of the passing of the 19th Amendment. Now for the past few years, it's been my honor to serve as a member of the National Women's Suffrage Centennial Commission, which was created to help oversee our national celebrations. Ironically, just as the Spanish flu nearly derailed the passing of women's suffrage back in 1918, the centennial celebrations that were planned all around the country have had to shift just a bit due to COVID-19. Yet, just like we showed back in 1918, nothing, not even a pandemic, can get in the way of a determined group of women. And that's why gatherings like this, to tell our stories, to commemorate our progress, and to champion the work that remains, are so important. The suffragists of over a century ago knew that women having political power would lead to better outcomes for an entire society. And now today, 100 years later, the proof is everywhere. Across the globe, research shows that when you empower women with equal access to education, economic opportunities, and decision-making, whole families and communities are lifted up. Across businesses, countless studies have shown that the more women you have in leadership, the greater the creativity, productivity, and the better the bottom line. And in government, the evidence points to the fact that women legislators sponsor more bills, pass more laws, send more money to their districts, and are more likely to introduce legislation that specifically helps women and children. Now, through my work on the Women's Suffrage Centennial Commission, I've had the privilege of learning in vivid detail so much more about the suffrage movement than I had known previously. And I'm continually moved by the common threads that bind the early suffragists to our current women's movement today. From the suffragists demanding equal pay for equal work, legal protections against domestic violence, increased political representation, and for the suffragists leading the first ever White House protest. It is clear that we stand on their shoulders even as we continue to walk the path that they laid down for us over 100 years ago. How awe-inspiring is that? It is also clear that just as we celebrate these women with renewed appreciation, we must also look at the movement with dedication to learn from and acknowledge their mistakes. So we must rightly call out the suffrage movement for excluding and leaving behind women of color. Because while white women may have secured their right to vote in 1920, we know the full enfranchisement of all women did not take place until many, many years later. And that many women are still fighting for equal access to the ballot box today. It is heartbreaking and painful to acknowledge and learn this history, but it does not and will not defeat us. Because today our women's movement has the opportunity to remember that our fates, the fates of white women, Black women, Latina women, Native women, Asian women, LGBTQ women, all women are intertwined. That if you are suffering, then I am suffering. That none of us are free until all of us are free. It's up to us to show the world that when we fight together and work together, we are so much more powerful than when we stand alone. So on the 100th anniversary of the suffrage movement, it could not be a greater privilege to stand before all of you as the first partner of California to honor the brave suffragists on whose shoulders we all stand, to heed their lessons, to fight for one another, and to lift each other up. And together, we will show the world what is possible when we do. Onwards.